hello, and welcome to the village. We're back. Welcome back.
I know. It's been like forever, right?
I know. It's just been a few weeks. It does seem like it's been forever. So welcome back to the village, where we encourage, inspire, and motivate teachers and educators. We are building a professional learning community here within the village. So welcome. I'm your girl, Dr. Roz, CEO and founder of the Village Leadership Group, LLC, and with me is...
Hey guys, I'm Coach Williams. I'm the content supervisor for the Village Leadership Group, LLC.
All right, so we are kicking off our brand new school year, because some people are already back.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
But they better get out before us.
Yeah, that's true. Wait. Okay, so we are kicking off the school year by preparing our new teachers just right. We want to share some back to school basics for our new teachers. So as the veterans, our coaches, our instructional coaches, mentor teachers, administrators, all of you folks who've been in the trenches forever, y'all know how to get things done. Y'all can, set up a classroom in 5 seconds. So share your advice with the village. Share your tips, the little secrets in the comments.
Teach too. I want it.
Right. What do you do to prepare when you're going back to school? For the beginning of the school year, what are some beginning of the school year basics that we want to share with our new teachers? But it's not just Coach Williams and I. We have some experts, okay?
Oh, yes.
Our village elders are joining us. So welcome back, Ms. Bijane, Kimberly Hardy, and Dr. Porter. Welcome back.
So good to see everybody. Good to see you, Coach Williams, Dr. Roz, and you, Dr. Hardy, and Dr. Porter.
Hello, everyone.
It's like a family.
Exactly. So listen, I am going to give you guys the opportunity to reintroduce yourselves to the village and also share, that one piece of advice, that pearl of wisdom that keeps you, that helps you set up for the new school year, to prepare you for the beginning of the school year. So we're going to start with Ms. Bijane. Reintroduce yourself, please.
Thank you. I'm always excited to be a part of the village and back on the village broadcast. My name is Bijane Kareem. I'm an educator, author, equity advocate, and founder of BK International Education Consultancy. And our social good mission is to amplify education equity by building educators' capacity to create and sustain innovative learning spaces. So I definitely, for back to school, want to give a shout out to all teachers, new and veteran, specifically for one primary reason is that the education field is made up of 80% of women like us. And so, as you all know, exactly, women, we're pioneers and supported communities and creating social innovation. So got to tip my hat for all those who are going back to school, preparing back to school, already in the classroom for your work ahead, because it is extremely important. And we're here to support and uplift and honor you. If I were to think about one thing, I guess it's so many things. I have so many things because I was a classroom teacher for over 10 years. Also help support trained teachers now is what I do. And so because I have a science STEM background, I think of the classroom community, school systems as an engineering design challenge. So if that was something that I would share with educators going back to school, is think of it as a little challenge, and you're not going to get it right the first time, and that's okay. You have to keep trying, you keep trying, and you keep trying. It's an iterative process. So think of it as a mini challenge that you're helping to support, improve school learning, help improve yourself and your pedagogical practices. So that would be my little takeaway, just to get us kicked off.
Awesome. And all right, we're going to move on to Dr. Hardy. Notice I say doctor. She's been busy since the last time she's been with the village. Congratulations, doctor.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Dr. Roz. I cannot thank you enough for being a part of this journey with me. It was you that told me over a year ago, write out your own job description, not the job descriptions that are out there, and create your own job. And so getting this doctorate degree was a part of that, was a part of, what you coached me to do. And so I cannot thank you enough for being here and doing the coaching. If you've not gotten some coaching, y'all out there, educators, getting coaching is definitely something that I highly recommend. So my advice, I have been an educator I've been in the fight for educational justice. This summer made 20 years. I've worked in extra school programs and also as a full-time teacher for 10 years now. And so my advice to you, educators, teachers, I am not only an educator and an author, but I am also a mental health advocate. And the reason why I advocate for mental health is because it truly is the foundation of everything. Y'all, that's my little niece. Do you hear her?
She's excited.
She said everything. That's what I'm hearing her say.
Yes, exactly. So this baby right here, y'all, she's going to be a boss lady just like y'all one day. But I want to say to all of my educators, you must put your self-care first. In the educational arena, everyone talks about putting children first, putting children first, putting children first. But you will not be able to sustain what needs to happen for children, your colleagues, your school, your entire community, if you do not put self-care first. So let me give you 5 things that I want you to do this year. Number 1, go ahead at the beginning of the year and plan out your vacations. If they give you 10 days of vacation time, I need you to go ahead and plan it out at the beginning of the year so that your principal is not like, oh, but you didn't give me 6 weeks notice, and so now you can't go. Plan it at the beginning of the year. Tip number 2, use every piece of your vacation, all of it, because you need it. Don't leave any of it on the table. Number 3, get those doctor's appointments already set up. Number 4, I need you to decide which days you're going to stay late and which days you're not going to stay late, because you cannot burn the candle at both ends and then expect for you to just be able to keep going, keep going, keep going. No. Number 5, I need you to pack your healthy lunch. Make meal prep a part of what you do, because as teachers, we often like to work through lunch. I'm going to work through lunch. I'm going to meet this parent at lunchtime, but you need the good fuel to fuel your goodness. And that is what I have to say, self-care teachers. Thank you.
I like it.
All right,
that.
we'll come back to that too. We'll come back to that. So hold that. That was some good stuff. See, that's why she's a village elder.
Okay.
That's why she's Dr. Hardy now. Okay. All right, Dr. Porter.
Hello, everybody. So wonderful to be back, Dr. Roz. As you said, it's been a minute since we've been able to communicate. So glad to be back. I am Dr. Sharon H Porter. I'm an educational leader, author, publisher, editor-in-chief of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle magazine. My nugget for new teachers specifically would be to commit and connect. It really is about relationships as well. You want to really get in there and make positive relationships with those students very early on, positive relationships with those parents, and with your peers and colleagues. You can get a long way with positive relationships. When you don't know what you're doing, if you got positive relationships, somebody's going to help you get through that. So that's my just one little nugget right now, is to commit, connect, and build those positive relationships.
Awesome. So thank you guys for reintroducing yourself to the village and sharing some wisdom with our teachers. Now, I'm going to just go over some things. I know come to me about me over 20 years ago.
Woo!
Sorry. It took me forever to set up a classroom. It took me forever. And then I had little sister, little brother. I would hire them to come and help me so they wouldn't take so long. But just, I would sit there and try to be a perfectionist. What colors am I going to use? What border am I going to use? Am I going to have a theme? Or what have you? So what I learned, again, keep it simple, right? And bulletin boards, you want to have them grow and develop throughout the school year. Let the students be involved, right? Yes. So when the students walk in, it shouldn't be a finished product. Yes, you want to have things up, you want it to be inviting, but they should be able to see themselves in the classroom, see their work around the room. give their input for how to decorate the classroom as well. So that's something that I had to learn, right? So let's start talking about how do you set up the classroom? What are some tips to getting that done easier? Coach Will, who's start with you, then we'll get our guests.
So, I come from a different lens, that high school background.
Oh, y'all can put anything up on the wall.
And you know what? That was true, right? But I felt that my classroom was like an extension of myself. So I spent a lot of time in there. So I wanted it colorful. But I love your advice about keeping that space for the students to grow. But my one piece of advice for setting up that classroom is really, guys, what is it that's going to keep you inspired? I always had some type of inspirational quote, right? So that was something that not only motivated me, but also motivated my students.
I love it. Okay, so any of the guests, Dr. Porter, now you coming from an administrator, from a school leader perspective. Sometimes y'all can come around with that clipboard and y'all want to see certain things up in the room. But what would be your tip or advice for teachers as they're setting up their classroom?
Yes, Dr. Ross, you really hit on it. Student centered, like it really can. It is an extension of you, but it has to be about the students. It has to be, and so they need to see themselves. And you said it perfectly. I am a part of the Arts for Learning in Math. This is this new initiative for principal cohort that we have, and the art and the color for Coach Williams. You talked about the color, like that was one thing that I walked into. We did some classroom observations this summer in these art classroom, and it's really about integrating the arts and all the academics. I'm trying to get that for my school because you go in there. I was so motivated and just wanting to do. I'm like, kids would love this. And so student-centered is what it's about. You hit it. They have to feel themselves in there and they have to see themselves in the class. So that's one of the main things that I'm looking for this year for my teachers.
Okay, all right. So y'all heard it here. That's coming from an administrator. Y'all will be distinguished if you listen to us. Okay, we helping y'all out.
Trying to give y'all a little
FFT is right here. All right, Dr. Hardy or Visionary, you have some tips. Either one of you, Dr. Hardy, you have tips for setting up the classroom.
I do. In line with the student-centeredness, I think that it's so important to make sure that you put the materials where the students can have them. A shout out to you, Bijane. I love the STEMinist here that you have here. But one of the things that I learned in the 21st century after school program, STEM program, that I learned about was the concept of letting the learning space be a maker space. And so putting out the materials that students need to be able to try things out. Don't have it, neatly in drawers behind your desk. Put it out there for the students to have. Another thing I would like to say is I love what you're saying, Dr. Porter, about the arts. I believe that within that first week of school, we all know, who was that? Harry Wong talks about the first days of school. And so for me, what I encourage teachers to do and always challenge myself to do is start out with a piece of art, like you said, that inspires me. Something that inspires me and that also shares parts of who I am with the students, but also models to share of who I am, not just I am Senorita Hardy or Miss Hardy or whatever, but there's other components of me, my favorite color, family or whatever, and make whatever you create the first project that your students create as well. And so for me, like for example, in the Spanish classroom, I create a poster that has, me and stuff about me, and make that the first thing that your students do, because one, you'll already have a model, and two, you'll be able to create art around the room to where students can share who they are, share who they are. Okay, so you got your lesson plan for the first day, girl.
Come on, distinguished teacher.
Taste that template down, right?
I love it. I mean, I have to dovetail off of everything that you all said. Like you said, keep it simple, but also remember to create something that fosters community. So I love your example, Dr. Hardy, about how we can show our individual portraits, but it's a way to help build community, because then other students get to share about themselves, right? Same thing that Dr. Porter is saying. making it student centered. So yes, you start off with, your bulletin board outside or wherever it may have, and something that's thematic or community based, and then leave a couple of bulletin boards blank, put a border around it, but have, solicit the students' input on what should we post, on our walls, what would be great to post and highlight. I think those are great. And then you can never go wrong with an ongoing word wall, right? Like that's for any subject area, right? So yeah, I definitely want to dovetail everything that you all said here. And again, think of that as an engineering design challenge. How can we get this room, this space, more community centered and inclusive? So yes.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we talked about setting up the classroom, right? We're not going to be a perfectionist and spend several days and months trying to make everything perfect, right? Okay, so now we have the classroom set up. How do we communicate with our parents? What's some tips? Because we want to make sure that they're part of the family, right? We know we're going to build a relationship with students. That's a given. But how do we plan and be intentional about engaging our parents from the beginning of the school year? Let's be intentional. How do we let parents know that they are welcome in our space? And how do we make sure that they know what we're going to do for the year and who we are and what to expect, all that good stuff. So communicating with parents. I'm going to start with Dr. Hardy. How do you communicate with parents and be intentional about setting that up at the beginning of the school year?
Okay, so I'm not even gonna lie. This is something that I love. My very first year of teaching, y'all, I was teaching in rural East Texas, y'all, in Palestine, in the woods, in the sticks. Okay, it's not that bad, but it was in the cut, y'all. And so, I'm like, oh, hi everyone, whatever. And one amazing teacher that had known these students, their families, had taught their cousins and grandmother and taught a bunch of family. She said within the first 2 weeks, make a positive call for every single child. Make that positive call at the very beginning so that when you have to call back with some other kind of news, they already know. The other thing that she said was invite them into the classroom early and often. And the other thing that I've learned as time has gone on and my technology use has gotten better is even high school parents love to see pictures of their kid. They love that in a text message and really just like shouting the child out as much as possible to the parents. Because I'm not a parent yet, but what I realize is parents want to hear that their children are doing well. And also they want to partake in the memories that their children are making. And so taking pictures, if it's allowed, I know some schools are like, put that phone away. But if it's allowed and you have that relationship with the parent, ask the parent if it's okay to send them pictures at the very beginning. And then the other thing, when we talk to those parents, ask them, what is something special about your child? Because as teachers, we also have the ability to foster positive relationships between parents and kids. And we don't know what kind of relationship those parents have with their kids, but we can literally foster it by asking parents to share positive things about their kids and then asking kids to share positive things about their parents to us as well. So, teachers are wonderful. We do it all. And fostering good relationships between kids and parents is another thing that we do.
Absolutely.
Yes, Dr. Hardy, that was good.
That was good stuff. Bijane.
Yeah. So yeah, same thing. Starting off on a positive note, you have to fill the bucket first, right? Before you may need to, dip out a little bit, right? Later on. And a lot of schools, they also do like open houses. And so for those parents who attend, I think it's a great way. I would often do a survey, a parent survey. So on it, it was quick to the point, and it would ask them specifically, like, what is your availability? What's the best way to contact you, right? When are you also available to maybe help volunteer or help support the classroom? So you get all that information up front, as well as sharing what is your availability as an educator. Is it best to contact you by email, or are you open to sharing your phone number and text message, and up to what time, right? Or your website and things like that. So just having that two-way communication, that open door, I think is helpful to let them know, like, hey, we're in this together. It's a village here at the school, right? And we want to see the most success for your child, and we'll do that together.
Awesome. Dr. Porter, what are you telling your parents, and how are you keeping up with them?
Absolutely. So we are a school-wide Class Dojo school, and if you're not on Class Dojo, that is the king at Rose Valley at my school. So we love Class Dojo. That is instant communication. I use it. All of the specialists, all the classrooms. You cannot communicate enough. Communicate.
Exactly.
And so one thing that I always tell my teachers, we should not have a parent meeting, regardless of what it is, whether it's an IEP meeting, a SIT meeting, just a parent meeting, and they're learning something new that they have not, like, that is not acceptable. So everything that we are meeting with parents, they should have already been informed by that. We're coming now to either get solutions or to get more information. And so I'm just an advocate for Class Dojo because it's just so easy to back and forth, even from school wide. And so that way they get all the information. Some parents want updates daily, depending on how they are. You know, those students who you might need to get some daily updates, but it's something quick that you can do that you don't have to sit at a computer or an email to do that. And so my whole method with communication is communicate, and communicate.
Right. And I love what you're saying. It's something quick because teachers don't have that much time, free time.
What's that?
Free time.
She said the F word, y'all.
Right. But I love Class Dojo. You have Remind, and there's other little tools that you can use and apps that you can use and download where you can make it quick. You know, just a touch of a button, you can send a mass email or text to all of your parents, and I love that.
Teachers in Touch is a good one too. Teachers in Touch is a good one too. Yeah, you can share grades, you can share communication, just all keeping everything transparent for and that door open for parents.
I love that.
Yes.
Like Dr. Ross said, you know, we don't have free time. So one of the teacher hacks that I did is with my syllabus, one of their first assignments, which is an assessment grade, is that the students have to have their parents email me. And I always want to know something about their child, their learning style, something that they want me to work on. And you should see those emails rolling in. Those parents, you know, they want that access to the teacher. They want to hear how you're going to be able to connect with them. And I give everybody that standard little response, but they get that quick interaction. It's not something that I initiated, but the kids are putting the pressure on the parents because they want that grade. And the parents are excited because now they get to talk to the teacher about what they see in their child and how they want them to grow.
And you know that's the best email to reach them. Because sometimes, you know, in the system, it's the wrong email address.
Sometimes, I mean, we'll talk about that'll be a whole nother episode.
All right, so we got the classroom set up. We have a plan of action for how we're going to keep our parents engaged and how we're going to communicate. But wait a minute, we have folks in the building. How do we build positive relationships with our colleagues as new teachers? You know, we want to focus on our students and what our curriculum, our lesson plans. But we have to also look outside of our own classroom and work collaboratively with our colleagues. And that is something that new teachers really need. They need help and support. So what tips and advice do you have for our new teachers about building those relationships with their colleagues? And I'm going to start with Dr. Porter. How do we make sure that folks are collaborating?
Absolutely. One of the things, and I've been very fortunate at my school that we don't have a lot of new teachers each year. We have maybe one or two retirees and, you know, things like that. But what I always do is pair them up with someone. And when we do collaborate in meetings, whatever, we don't do grade levels all the time because I do want them. We're a small school, but, you know, you can get into your little close quarters and not have an opportunity to talk to or meet or collaborate with others. The kindergarten needs to know the fifth graders, teacher, the pre-K, you know. And so I love the fact that I do pair them up with someone who can assist them in a mentoring role almost at the schoolhouse. But also intentionally, I make sure that we are paired throughout the building and not just sticking to your team. Because that gives them an opportunity to get to know other people and other ideas. Because, you know, just because you're pre-K and fifth grade, you can still use some of those same ideas. You just have to tailor it to your grade level. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Very important. B. Janae.
So in terms of building relationships, with colleagues, one thing is just similar to what you kind of do with the kids. I'm all about like one-on-one, like relationship building. So I would say one-on-one relationship building. Also, sharing whatever your talent may be with your team or with others, right? And not as like a know-it-all share, but just offering like, hey, like for me, like I was all about trying to solve for how can I find things for my classroom without me having to pay out of pocket? And so mine was on finding classroom grants. So I would share with like, hey, here's a grant, coming up. It's pretty easy. I can help you, whatever, things like that. So that was one of my go-tos, just to share with other people, because I knew it was a need for all of us teachers. So sharing your talents as well as developing those relationships, I would say one-on-one.
Awesome. Dr. Hardy.
I'm still trying to get used to this Dr. Hardy business. I'm not like you, Dr. Roz. I'm not like you, Dr. Porter. I'm not ready.
Girl.
You work hard. You better say it, girl.
Thank you. But that's one of the things that I would say, exactly what you all are doing. I would say edify, edify, edify. Make it a habit, make it a practice to edify at least 5 people. And I learned the word edify, of course, back in church, when I was little and you read the Bible and the word edify is in there. But I learned it again when I was around to folks who are in multi-level marketing. And one of the things they talk about is that 3-way call. You get that person in and you get them online with your upline, and you be quiet, but you edify the person right before they start talking. So when you are encountering a teacher, a new colleague, edify each other, to the principal. Let people understand that I see you, and it really does take words. You can even write a little tiny sticky note saying, I heard you with your students in the hallway today. Awesome job on this, right? And for that teacher that is struggling and about to pull her little hair out, because we have those, she needs that edification more than anybody. So find something positive to say. I know that sticky tabs and little notes, just writing out little notes and putting a little Jolly Rancher on another teacher's desk it's phenomenal. Smiling at people. Oh, and one thing I learned the hard way, because I'm like an early morning person, is don't be talking to people all loud in the morning. Talk about, hey! Don't do it. I made the mistake.
Thank you.
And I didn't know it.
No,
don't
do it.
Do it.
No. All right, that was good. No, that's pearls of wisdom right there. All right, and then one of the things too, we always tell new teachers, don't smile for the first month, the first quarter. You have to be mean. So let's talk about classroom management, okay? And really setting the tone. Help them out, because I don't believe you want to, set the tone, but you want to also build a community in your classroom. So what are some tips and advice do you have for our new teachers or newer teachers as it relates to their classroom management strategies? And I'll start with Dr. Porter.
Yeah,
that's a
that is a huge one. And I have to go back to what I said before. It really is about building those positive relationships, because the same child can go to another class and be perfectly fine. And it's because of the rapport and the relationship that adult has with that child. And so, you got to get to know your students. Somebody talked about it, find out what makes them tick so that you can utilize those things when it's time. And so classroom management is a big one, because that's as an administrator, you like, come on now, you got to get that together, right? So I really, when I start with and it's not just first year teachers, okay? So we're talking. Let's be real.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. And so, if you don't have the right posture with those students, you're going to have a hard year. That's just the bottom line. And you cannot expect for an administrator or anyone else to come in to save you every time, because now you have lost that authority. That is the hardest part to get teachers to understand. Every time you have to call someone else in, you are losing that authority. And so you got to do everything on the front end. Now, please don't get me wrong. If they do something that is so what I call PF74 worthy, absolutely get administrator involved. But you cannot call administrator in there for every little thing.
Dr. Porter, they forgot to bring their pencil to class.
Right. No, and you're joking, but when I tell you, on our first full day back, we are actually going through some exercises for classroom management and discipline because so many people need that. They have to understand that they've got to keep that authority as long as they can. And you cannot, there has to be other ways, that you have to have a system in place. Whether it's the marbles, we are a PBIS school, so we like to use positive reinforcement.
Okay.
So there has to be other ways, and so I would say the first way is to start by building those positive relationships, so that when you do discipline a child, they understand that that's coming from a place of love and not from any other negative place. So
love it. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Porter. Dr. Hardy.
We're going to wear that name out.
Dr. Porter, I am over here writing notes. My little note card is full. I really appreciate all of this wisdom that you are giving. I would say three things about classroom management. Number one, control the fun. As the teacher, let the children understand that the fun comes from you. In other words, you got to make space time for fun. So brain breaks also, I truly believe in that in PBIS for all students. I believe that there needs to be an individual, a group like your learning group, your learning circle, and then also a whole class PBIS PBIS plan in terms of rewarding students for pushing the learning forward. The other thing that I would say is, for me, what I learned that if I keep it about the content, about the learning, and I keep us moving forward with the right pacing, because I've planned well. God forgive me for the times I didn't plan well. If you don't plan, the children got a plan, and it's their behavior that will be the plan.
That is so true, Dr. Hardy.
They'll be like, "Oh, you're not ready? I'm ready for you, Miss Hardy."
Yes.
And so what I find is that if the classroom is engaging and the lessons are engaging, it really does cut down on the issues. The last thing that I will say is, and I think Bijane, did I say that right? Bijane? Oh, it's such a beautiful name, by the way. That is a gorgeous name. But one of the things that you mentioned was about letting the space be about the students. And one thing I think about is the cooperation contract. Let's let the kids on the first day of school come up with what rules, what are the rules here, and then let's practice what those rules look like, and then let everybody sign it. And to me, that gives some ownership that the students, and wait a minute, y'all said that this was the cooperation contract, right? So I think that sets a tone of this is our space. So control the fun, have you a PBIS plan, and then make sure that you have engaging lessons that are well planned. And then the last thing is let the children come up with some of the rules and have a cooperation contract.
Yes, love it. Thank you, Dr. Hardy. That's why she's doctor. All right, Bijane.
I love it. I love it. All the things I think that apply for building a relationship with adults, with the parents, starting off on a positive note, right? Edifying, as Dr. Hardy said, applies for students in your classroom as well. I like creating our community agreements that you mentioned, Dr. Hardy, as well. I think that's important for adults and for children. Also showing, I would say, warm demander. So warm demander is one where you show personal warmth towards your students, your learners. And it doesn't mean like you have to be nice or give in. It doesn't mean that. But it means showing genuine care, about that person. Also being able to affirm their efforts and their ability. Starting off with that's that edification piece. But as you build that relationship, you can still actively demand high expectations because you set that foundation with the relationship piece. And then also you have to be on top of your game as an instructional pro in your classroom and show your instructional competence. Because if not, those kids will eat you alive and they will know really quickly. So maybe with the little ones, you can get away with it for a little while, but they want to know, like,
what she doing?
right, exactly. They will call you out on it. So warm demander, that personal warm, affirming them, demanding the high expectations, as well as showing your instructional competence. So that means you keep growing as a instructional pro in the classroom. And one little final thing to add on to the piece about the classroom community agreements, I would say also have them buy in and let create classroom roles, leadership positions, and have them apply for those roles and help support the classroom and help to manage the classroom together. So it's not just all on you as a teacher in the classroom. So those are a couple suggestions I recommend that have been helpful for me as an educator in the classroom.
Awesome. Listen, I hope you guys are writing this stuff down because FFT, those observations are going to be rolling in, and if you listen to us, you'll be distinguished. All right. All right.
Lesson plan.
Exactly. So listen, our final, topic for our discussion is the most important, and Dr. Hardy already kind of mentioned it. We want to make sure that our teachers are taking care of themselves. Self-care is not selfish. So we want to talk about how do we manage this workload, right? And stress, because this is a tough job. I love teaching. I love our career choice. Yeah. But you guys, it's hard work. So how do we make sure that we are pouring into ourselves and managing this workload? All right, we're going to start with Bijane this time. Give them some tips. How do we manage workload and stress?
Yeah, I'm still learning about this one, y'all. I'm still learning about this one, but I would say being intentional upfront about defining when you are off work, because as an educator, it can go 24 hours a day into the weekend, into the night. And so while your job is demanding, I think you have to set the boundary and practice it. And it's hard for us educators because we care, right? And we want to see our students well, and we want to get the work done and check the things off the list and all those things. So I would say first is really defining when are you off of work and practicing that. Having some of your friends, your new teacher besties that you meet at the school to help hold you accountable to it. And then also just as you plan, like I'm a calendar girl, right? So if it's not on my calendar, then it doesn't exist. But actually blocking off self-care time, whatever it is. I'm a nap advocate. So if you need to put a nap on there, then put a nap on your calendar, whatever that may be. Put it on there for yourself, whether it's going to get your nails done or taking a walk, whatever it is. Plan that like you plan everything else. Plan yourself.
I like that.
Love it. Dr. Porter, I have to go to Dr. Hardy last, but this is her specialty.
Right.
So Dr. Porter.
Exactly. No, yeah, absolutely. And my thing is really parameters. And Bijane, you really talked about it. And as hard as it is for educators, and I say this often each time I'm speaking about this, it is not hard for me. When I have established my cutoff time, that is it. I don't have a problem with cutting off because I have other things that I have to do. Right. And so if you treat it as such, you would not, because number one, you can't do everything in one day. You can't do everything in 1 week. And so there has to be a cutoff time. And I'm not saying the bell to bell time. I'm not saying your duty ends at 2:45, you dropping everything and you go. But if you choose to, you can. But I'm not saying that, right? If you say I'm leaving work today at 4, I get off at 2:45, but I'm staying till 4. If you say that, then at 4 o'clock you pack up your things and you leave, and that's it. And you will see them back tomorrow morning. Like I have no problem with that, and I tell my teachers that I make them comfortable to know that that's okay. My teacher that does stay in the building to 6 and 7 o'clock at night, I say go home.
Exactly.
Go home.
Yep.
And I mean it.
Yeah, right. Don't go home and do no more work. Go home.
Right. Go home. Back up. Right. Go and I have a teacher that does that. One of my best teachers, of course, she does that, but I don't want her to burn out.
Right.
I don't want her to burn out. You know what I mean? And so establish that cutoff time and do it. Honor that cutoff time.
Love it.
Period.
Love it.
Period.
Period. You heard it here. Period. Dr. Hardy, how can we manage our workload and stress?
Okay, so Principal Dr. Porter has told us, go home.
Home.
The leader said,
Yeah.
go home.
All of the other principals, Dr. Porter will be calling you. You
If they
told them
say-
to go home. Yes, I did.
Oh, she's a good one. That lets you know she's a good one. She's a good one.
Exactly.
Yes, and that is something that I wanted to reiterate. I learned the hard way that your administrators do not necessarily respect you more if you are the teacher that stays late, right?
Mm.
If you're the teacher that stays later than they do, that's not always, they don't, you may not get any extra bonus points for doing all of that. Not that that's why you do it, but just remember. The other thing I will say is I had to learn the very, very hard way, y'all, that if I break down because I have not practiced self-care, it is nobody's fault but mine. Furthermore, how can I be there for my students if I break down? The other thing is, if we say we care about children and do not care about ourselves, it's hypocrisy. I'm sorry, but it is, because you are just as human as they are. And you can't care for one human and not another human. Why? Because they're below the age of 18? That doesn't make any sense. And so the Bible says, sorry, y'all got to go here. The Bible says,
don't say sorry. Go ahead.
love your neighbor as yourself. If we are beat down, at some point, the beat downness will show up in the classroom in the way that we interact with children. And that is unethical. And it's negligent to not care for yourself. I'm going to tell you all some bad things about myself. You all, I have to tell you because I need someone to hear me. Okay, I'm saying this loud for the people in the back. But you all, I suffer from fibroids, and I ignored them for too long because I didn't want to leave the classroom. I was like, no, I don't want to go to the doctor's appointment during the day when the gynecologist is open. Well, back in December, I was like, no, I'm not going to go to the appointment that I assigned for today. And do you know that I started having heart flutters in that classroom? And I was like, okay, God, I'll leave. You know, it wasn't like that. But because of the lack of self-care, the staying to 7 o'clock at night, the coming at 5 o'clock in the morning after I stayed to 7 o'clock at night, I got to a point where I hit a wall. And if you want to do what's right by kids, you've got to take care of yourself. So let me tell you a few things here. Number one, be careful how you talk to yourself about your work. Be careful how you talk to yourself about your students. Be careful about that complaining, because what you complain about, it increases. So if you start complaining about how hard things are and this bad kid and this administration, it's going to grow and grow and grow and take over your life. So get you some friends who only let you talk about work only for so long, right? The other thing is have something outside of school. I think Dr. Porter said it. She's busy outside of school. Teachers, you need another stream of income. And Dr. Ross taught me that too. And so if you have another stream of income, you got to go handle that stream of income and leave this school stuff alone. And that really will help you. The other thing is make sure you are investing in relationships. As teachers, we can get very isolated because we're tired. I just want to go home. I just want to drink my whatever and go to sleep. But investing in is going to feed you. All right, y'all, I could go on and on. Forgive me. I will stop now, but thank you so much for letting me share.
Oh, that was good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Listen, all right. I'm full. I'm ready. Let's go back.
Wait.
Okay, no, not
I'm full, but still wait.
All right.
Let me digest it.
Right. So before we wrap up, I want everyone to kind of give your final thoughts. What's going on with your business? I know we're all entrepreneurs, so we want to hear what's going on in your business. How can our village folks connect with you guys and what you have going on? So your final thoughts, and again, what's going on with your business? I'll start with Bijane.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been phenomenal. Like this just re-energized me. Thank you all. Thank you all for the nudges, for the wisdom, just for all of it. And so in thinking of how to continually support educators, one thing that we are truly passionate about is for educators not having to spend out of pocket for school supplies or for schools being able to have flexible funding dollars so that they can increase the resources that students have access, accelerate learning, and also help to support teacher effectiveness. And so one thing that we do is we offer trainings around STEAM education, but also how can you get the grants so you can get what you need for your school, whether it's for PBIS, whether it's for STEM, whatever it's for, whether it's for arts integration, right?
Right.
And so we do have a 12 Steps to Writing Grants Teacher Edition master class coming up. We're scheduling right now, I think on 2 evenings, August the 16th. So it's coming up really soon. August 18th for back to school. And I walk you through, me personally, on how I was able to secure thousands of dollars in grants. So you don't have to spend out of pocket, but you get all the resources that you need for your students to help see them most successful. So that's coming up. I'm excited about that. And that's online. So wherever you are in the U.S., we welcome you. Right. And thank you all for putting that in the chat box, I think earlier today about
we'll put it back in as well.
Okay, the masterclass. And then if you can't attend, we have a what I call a grant writing starter guide on the 12 quick steps to writing classroom grants. So the great thing about it is I didn't realize that daycare providers, they were like, wait a minute, does that work for does that work for me too? For pre-K, even nonprofits who have educational programming, it has helped. So check it out. Would love to see you all there, especially us in the village here, especially us in the village. That's one of our upcoming events.
Thank you so much, Bijane, and continue to share within the village, because within the village, you guys can post. You're village elders, so go ahead and post within the village. I will make sure it's approved. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
You heard it.
Exactly, Dr. Hardy. What you have going on? You have another book coming out, right?
I do. Yes. And thank you for reminding me about that. I do. Yes. Thank you. You all are so wonderful. You're filling my cup. So I have an HBCU tour coming up with the first book, Love Letters to Baby Girl. We just came out of National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month in July, had some dynamic speakers because we want to break the stigma of being people of faith, being a people of color who also go get our mental health resources. Teachers, use your EPA and get some therapy. A shameless plug, but get some therapy. But I have starting something in 2023 called Teacher in a Blue Dress. And it is literally storytelling workshops to help teachers tell their own story. And it really is protective against the battle fatigue of being a teacher, and also protects your mental health. So I'm really excited about that project. Yeah, so that's what's coming up.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, and Dr. Porter.
Absolutely. So Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine annual education issue comes out in September, October. So I'm really excited. Each year we dedicate a whole issue to educators. Last year, our own Barry Ross in the village was featured. So I'm so excited. And so definitely look out for that at info at VNP Magazine. We have another stellar set of educators who are also business owners, and some educators really doing great things. We have our superintendents to watch. We always feature 10 superintendents that are doing a magnificent job around the country, women superintendents. So that will be in this issue as well. So that comes out, that releases in September.
Awesome. And again, congratulations to all of you.
Big things.
They're doing awesome things. When I grow up, I want to be like the village elders. So thank you again for your support, and kudos to all that you do, and have an amazing school year. We salute you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Listen, that was some good stuff.
Man, listen.
So y'all need to make sure y'all contact our village elders.
If they trying to have a good school year,
call them. Okay, you're trying to be distinguished, call them. We have to plug. Thanks again for tuning in with the village. We hope that we provided some, back to school basics, some great tips and advice for you as you start this amazing school year. And again, continue to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Village LG. And continue to, show up on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. as we go live. All right. So again, remember, teacher leadership is a mindset, not a position. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.